I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Violet Cold Anomie is the name of the band. They're from Azerbaijan.
This is for the big homie Michael.
I get some friends that are in, well, they're not in Azerbaijan anymore, but
they will.
Yep, they were. Shout out to the homies.
I don't know, it doesn't sound like a safe place. But I don't know anything about the place.
I mean... So, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. There are multiple ways to get your song reviewed there, listener. Who's this from? The big homie
from
Michael?
Yep.
My favorite is the community option, $1 to gate gets you in at Patreon, where you, dear listener, will be able to get hooked up with an alliance. You pull your points together, and then you determine what song you want to listen to. Other way to do that is $125 at the gate, which is what Michael did. Puts you straight to the head of the line. Some people are starting to partner up now in subgroups and like splitting half of the 125 so they get their song reviewed, which is kind of smart. Mm-hmm. You do that 3 times and you get bumped down to the $75 rate. Having said that, I'm extremely interested in this band. Remember how we said we were going to like guess what kind of metal the band was before it started?
Oh.
We can't because we already know this is black metal.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I read this message.
I am so, like, this is a combination of 2 of my favorite thingamajiggies. I gotta get my lyrics up, though. There you go.
Which 2? Black metal and...
Yeah,
what?
black metal and then Azerbaijan, because they're mostly Muslim.
Oh, there we go.
So, there you are, dear listener.
Ready?
Yeah, we've got the lyrics. I guess we're gonna put the lyrics up there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have the first English lyric video on this.
It'll be right down there.
Well, why don't you just leave it just like that in the video? Tremolo picking, yes, Stinky. like some Hare Krishna Jai.
Holy moly. I haven't heard something that empowering in a long time.
And that, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
is why black metal is my favorite genre.
That's crazy.
Black metal's crazy,
Oh
bro.
my gosh, that sound. That would have been so, like, I don't know. You picture
What?
dance with it and...
Oh, there's so many. You know what's interesting is
Wow.
that Anomie, I think is the name of the song. When we went and looked, because we were looking for the lyrics, that's a back-to-back song on the record.
What do you mean?
So, like, if I go to Bandcamp or whatever, when you actually look at the record, it says it twice. Anomie, Anomie. And I think one of them is the instrumental version of the same song.
Oh.
See what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So, that is really cool. So I don't know if they did it with. I don't know if it's the same song. If it's like with the lyrics and then see that right there.
Yeah.
So one is an instrumental,
Yeah. Why is that
See
not
right
showing
there?
over here, though, on
and
Genius?
then the other is the song.
How long? Are they both the same length?
Probably. It's pretty much the same. She spoke of her devastation.
Well, yeah, all that other stuff.
I think probably every song has an instrumental part to it. It's probably what it is.
Wow.
Inshallah.
Anyway.
But holy moly, that was such a good song. Such a good song. But yeah, this is another one of those songs where, you know, sonically it spoke a lot more than the lyrics.
I
Which,
totally agree.
which
but then
maybe
but you don't
if
know.
I understood it in their
Yeah,
language.
that's what I was going to say. Like, how can you really know?
Yeah, if I understood their language. Because there's a certain poetry to the cadence of
Right.
the language within itself.
Right.
In the first place. So, but man, that was a beautiful song. So the lyrics are, when I started to listen to this world, I thought
First
that the
song was
game
like
would be on
sad.
equal terms.
All radios are connected to the frequency of happiness. It's easier to believe in fairy tales than to force yourself to live. Never ending dreams like an avalanche. All your hopes on the rocks, desperate flutters to stay yourself hidden.
Sloths do not quench hunger. Exaltation, sickly crust. That, you know, that's one of those lost in translation things. A sloth is, isn't that dude from Ice Age, a little animal?
Yeah, they move really slow.
Maybe he's talking about humanity. He's always desiring something else. With lead threads in silence, picture with a so-called bad habits, lies, chance your life, hidden, rotting in folly, remaining in a sticky swamp. I love this line. All the stars are relatives. We are part of a tumor only to scrutiny while trying belief in heaven. Self-deceit can't be stopped. So that area is largely Muslim, Azerbaijan. So I'm assuming this is what happened. You know what's really interesting, if you're in a Christian milieu, a modern Christian milieu, because if you were in Europe in the Middle Ages, I don't really. Well, yeah, I would say so. If you're in a modern Christian milieu, you can out and about in public air out your doubts. You can say I don't, or you can even repudiate Christianity.
Yeah.
And you can have that conversation out in the open.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm thankful that there are atheist communities and things like that where people can go and like commiserate with each other or find common ground and then go on with their lives. Obviously, as a Christian, I believe the best thing to do would be to, you know, have a relationship with Christ. But if a person's going to lose faith, I don't want them to lose like their entire life and go to a hermitage or whatever.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I saw this thing about like an atheist gathering or whatever. It was basically like a church.
What do they do?
Well, they sing songs and it was really, really weird. There is a BBC in
What
2000.
happens at the atheist church?
Yeah, seriously, it's crazy. They're all together.
Oh gosh.
They're all together, right? And
Yeah.
they sing songs. They listen to a message about how to be good to each other and all this, and you know, and they have fellowship and all the rest of it. You know, they're just saying it's not a church; it's a congregation of unreligious people. what's interesting is that the church literally means congregation. That's literally what ecclesia.
Oh man.
Ecclesia literally means a
They
congregation.
didn't know.
That's why in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, it's talking about the congregation in the wilderness, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. I just think that's it's just one of those.
Well, when your mind knows that, yeah, I wouldn't have picked up on that.
There's probably no God. Now stop worrying and enjoy your life. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. A lot of these people come from a Western. They grew up in that type of situation, and I think a lot of people enjoy that kind of rhythm in your life where you meet with other people who share the same fundamental beliefs as you, and then you utilize music, and then you off you go. Mm-hmm. Back in
well, they had a message on how to be good to each other and stuff like that. Like there was some positivity and
for a while there was this thing called Atheism Plus.
Okay.
Where it was like we're atheists, but they basically follow the teachings of Jesus because they think that or Buddha or whoever, because they want to maximize human well-being, and so you already have their basic argument was, look, there's already a philosophical construct as to how to be good to each other, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel, so we'll just follow Buddha and Jesus and this Atheism Plus. That died out pretty quickly.
Oh, really?
Well, because people were trying to hold people accountable to those things, and then you can't do that.
It's like, why?
You can't.
Yeah.
So, there's no way to kind of keep that going. But anyway, this would be one of those songs in the, in the atheist worship service or whatever. I don't know what people would call it, but
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like it was just such a beautiful songs. So it looks to me like if you lose faith in the Muslim world, it's a particularly isolating experience, I would think.
Oh, it's gotta be.
And it's not necessarily they'll kill you. Like if you're in Turkey, they're not going to kill you for no longer going to masjid or whatever.
Do you get sent out of your family?
Well, that's the thing. Like your family will not necessarily be the nicest to you. You know what I'm saying? Like it just depends on where you are. Azerbaijan though is not a good place to lose faith in Allah and His Messenger. We say it that way. So at least that one not 8 years ago. So, like they're making beautiful music, but they're singing about something that's pretty hard for them. Like she spoke of her devastation in Love Gaze. I mean, maybe it's not all about losing faith, but you hear the fairy tales.
I don't think it necessarily has to be all about religion either. Just people and regular people. Like, when I started to listen to this world, I thought that the game would be on equal terms. All radios are connected to the frequency of happiness. It's easier to believe in fairy tales than to force yourself to live never-ending dreams like an avalanche. Like, there are a lot of, there's that verse that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick,
Yeah.
So when you're hopeful about something and you're excited about something and then it's not like that. And so it's easier to believe, well, you know what, the fairy tales, this or that thing, this is going to work itself out, this is going to be great, than to live in the world where there is actually just horrible stuff that's happening, never-ending dreams like an avalanche. All your hopes on the rocks. Like, that's a pretty discouraging thing to say, but it's weird because musically it was uplifting, I thought.
Well, again, I think that if he's talking about God lyrically, it's talking about something negative, but I think what they're trying to communicate is that you can still have positivity after you've had that crisis of faith. You can reorient yourself and still have whatever. Now obviously as a Christian, I'd say you can do that for a while, but my philosophy and what I see from the Bible is that God is the ultimate source of joy and comfort and peace. So the farther and farther you get away from that, the more and more it becomes clear that that's not the case. But in the immediate, it looks like the music is trying to communicate that, while the lyrics are trying to communicate, the loss of faith that happens to a person, I think.
Yeah.
Which, of course, every time I hear the whole fairy tale thing, like, I always say to myself, if I was an atheist, how would I argue? And I would never use the fairy tale thing. Like, when my mom, like, when I watched, like, Peter Pan and all the rest of it as a kid. Like I did not believe Peter Pan was real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And the other thing about Peter Pan is Peter Pan does not provide explanatory power for ultimate questions like existence, morality, purpose, etc., etc. So it's just like a fairy tale is, Cinderella. You know, I was one of the little ducks in Cinderella. I don't know why there was ducks in Cinderella in the first place.
Ducks.
St. Andrews, Catholic school.
Yeah.
I had my big acting debut. I was like a duck or a mouse. I don't know. I was something.
Probably a mouse.
And my mom was like, "Yeah, go on, Vin, and blah blah blah." And we were doing Cinderella. Like, I was like 4 or 5. Like, I knew Cinderella. Like, everybody. I just would never use the fairy tale thing because, again, fairy tales don't give explanatory power to existence and things of that nature.
Yeah.
God is the concept of God is a completely different category of being. And secondly, there's this argument that you don't like the ramifications of an empty universe, therefore you invented God. And there seems to be no awareness of the fact that the same logic could work the other way.
Yes,
you don't like the concept of a full universe, therefore you invented the idea that there was no God.
Right.
Because if there is a creator that all of us are beholden to, then he can tell you how to live, and you don't like. That doesn't get tested at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't get tested at all.
No, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
There's no like awareness. Like I could say, yeah, I could see how a person could say that, right? And of course, Jordan Peterson was like, yeah, but the gods that people invented were more terrifying than just plain nature in the first place. So, like, for example, you have situations like the concept of hell, for example, where you suffer for all eternity or whatever. However you want to construct it. Well, you can't say that God was invented to comfort people
Right,
because of the unknown.
Yeah.
Like, it's a much easier proposition to say, when you die, that's it. So like this whole concept, you created this because you're afraid to live in the you're afraid to live in the real world. Well, wait a second, then why do they create horrible things like demons and hell and things like that?
Yeah.
Why do that?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because one rebuttal is, well, you created hell for your enemies, right? Like it's a way to say, your enemy, but it's like no, because the only people that end up in hell are bad practitioners of the religion. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you go to like, again, middle Europe, right, during Christendom, the people most terrified of hell were your garden variety,
right?
Catholic guy, whatever. So, it just doesn't work. And the whole Aztec thing, the guys are sacrificing their kids, throwing them to the little. It just doesn't work completely.
Yeah. Like,
it makes sense on the outset, but then when you delve deeper into these religions, it does. And then, people are like, people created religions to explain, things that they couldn't understand. Yeah, is that why we create the Trinity? The Trinity is the most difficult thing. I'm about to shoot a video on the Trinity in another form. The these simplistic sort of like, this is why you invented it. It doesn't work if you actually know. Like, I'm looking at Hinduism right now, subhanallah. Mm-hmm. Like, you need a doctorate to even understand the differences in the Vishnu, and Vishnu's got like 14 emanations and blah blah blah. And this explains that, yada yada. Like, religion does not simplify the world at all, and it doesn't make the world less dangerous either in the minds of many practitioners and followers of religion. So. But I do see, though, on the ground level where people don't have access to all that type of information and don't, are too busy living life to sit down and think all those things through, where it's like, this is, people get disillusioned about, religion or whatever. It's all a fairy tale. And that's why I'm very thankful as a Christian that, we've got a human being that lived in time and space.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's undeniable. People who deny that Jesus existed are I'm not saying that. Bart Ehrman was saying it. Bart Ehrman was saying these guys are like flat earthers, or people who deny that we went on the moon.
Well,
like, he literally said that. He wrote this book called "Did Jesus Exist?" He's like, I'm writing this book because it's a once and for all thing. Like, I'm not dealing with any of these people. These people are ridiculous. Here's a book, blah blah blah. And I read it, and
was it good?
Oh, it was very very good. He was talking about how he's like, people were saying, "Oh, if Jesus existed, then why don't we have all these documents about him?" And Bart Eamon's like, "What are you talking about? We've got more."
We do.
You know, he's like Pontius Pilate. There's only like 1 or 2 secular sources for. I guess he didn't exist. He's like, we don't have that for the vast majority of people, including famous people.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, what are you? This is ridiculous. That's not how we do history. You know, like
Yeah.
It's more plain when you look at people who are like not disciplined in the sciences, right? So you'll have Christians that say, "Oh, if evolution is true, why are there still monkeys?"
Mm-hmm.
And you know immediately, okay, this guy doesn't understand this. The first thing about the scientific discipline. So now you've got these people commenting on history, who have no background in the discipline of history, and you're confidently saying all this stuff. It's like, holy moly! So I'm not criticizing the band per se. I'm just like thinking out loud right now, but. Yeah, for me as a Christian, it's like, you know, well, what's the difference between Jesus and Thor? Jesus is actually a historical person.
Right.
Those are facts.
Right.
He actually died. He was actually crucified under Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate actually existed. Jerusalem existed. The practices and customs that you see in the New Testament.
The names.
The names. Particularly the time, I know what you're referring to. That would go way too long. But the time period and within 200 miles,
yeah.
The names, the frequency of the names used match exactly. Like, say what you want. Say that it was like, historical fiction or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you cannot say that this is a fairy tale. It wasn't like a long time ago in a galaxy far away. Like,
right.
This is in Nazareth on Main Street.
Right.
Like literally, the streets are named in the thing. Like,
yeah.
It's not the same thing. Sorry. So right out the gate, that eliminates a bunch of stuff, right? For me as a Christian, it just eliminates a bunch of things, and then you have to explain the explosion of a messianic religion of a guy who was crucified on a tree in the Jewish youth in Laban. And so there's enough there to where a thinking person could say, okay, something unusual happened during that period. Mm-hmm. So, but at the same time, like, I can phase in different identities and be like, well, this dude, like, he took something very painful to him, which to me appears to be a loss of faith, and turned it into something amazingly beautiful.
Oh my gosh!
In my opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was so good.
Black
it was so beautiful.
Black metal is so diverse, man.
I'm always surprised when black metal is beautiful.
I told you.
But some of the prettiest stuff comes from black metal.
Yeah, and the deepest lyrics too. What do you get the song?
I'm actually going with an 11.
Holy moly!
Yeah, it was really, really, really good for me.
It's a 10.5 for me. Very, very good song. Shout out to the big homie. Really, really good song, my guy. Best black metal song of the year. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.